So after the last video I made, some of the Katie Hopkins supporters who were defending her dropped into the comments section to tell me how they thought that I was right and the scales had fallen from their eyes had been opened, and they suddenly saw asylum seekers as humans deserving of human rights. That didn't happen. It was mostly just a stream of abuse, but some other comments were worth responding to, so grab your soy milk, my liberal friends. We're going on a journey together. Let's go into the comments section. Lots of people seem to think that we were not supporting British homeless people because we were supporting asylum seekers, and that just isn't true, and it's quite easy to demonstrate the trick that's been played on people with that movement. So Katie Hopkins is blurring the distinction between what people are owed and what people are actually getting. So, for example, if you had a homeless veteran and he was stood next to a refugee, they would technically be owed this much. The refugee, or asylum seeker, sorry, not refugee, asylum seeker, would be owed £37 per week in asylum support, and the homeless veteran would be getting £73, £72, around that, 70 odd pounds a week in job seekers allowance. But you and I both know that a homeless veteran is not getting £73 a week to support himself. So what's gone wrong here? Well, Katie Hopkins, when she comes along and tells you that, she's telling you how much they're owed. She's not telling you how much they're actually getting. And there's quite a distinction. And these houses are allocated based on need, not on nationality. So, for example, the homeless man is not receiving his benefits quicker than the asylum seeker, but neither is the asylum seeker receiving his benefits quicker than the homeless man. So when Katie Hopkins comes along and tells you that it's the asylum seeker's fault, frankly that just shows she doesn't know anything about the statistics. Asylum support costs us around £155 million a year, which sounds like a lot, but for British people it's just over 1p a day, and we are a multi-trillion pound economy. It's absolutely nothing to us. In fact, for the overall welfare budget, which is about £264 billion, it's less than 0.05% of it. So if I snapped my fingers and suddenly all the refugees disappeared, it wouldn't make any difference to the welfare budget and to whether homeless people are actually receiving the benefits that they're owed. We're taking far less asylum applications than we had to take in 2002, for example, and we take less than 17% of the number of asylum applications which Germany are taking, and, well, Pakistan and Turkey are just outdoing us by miles. We've taken in a few thousand, they've taken in a few million. Asylum seekers and refugees are not required to stop at the first safe country they come to, and realistically, why would they? If you had to flee Europe, and you managed to find a boat that was going from Europe to Morocco to America, would you honestly stop at Morocco? Rather than going on to the USA where you speak the language and there's a chance you might know people? Like, that's the reason that most refugees give for wanting to go the places that they're going. There's European rules which allow us to return asylum seekers to the first safe country inside Europe that they reached, but we're not taking a lot anyway, and also enforcing that rule would be ridiculous. Just picture it like this. Let's say that Syrian refugees flee using this path. They go through Turkey, and then on to Greece, and then on to Italy, and then on to France, and then on to Britain. So when you come along and you say, well, there's no war in France, okay, so what do the French then turn around and say? They say there's no war in Italy, and the Italians turn around and say, well, there's no war in Greece, and the Greeks say, well, there's no war in Turkey, and then Turkey ends up taking 6 million Syrian refugees. Can you see why that might be just a little bit unsustainable? So, give me all the abuse you want. It doesn't make you right. And the problem has never been overcrowding. We take very, very few refugees. The problem is underfunding. And underfunding is a government choice which has made rich people richer through austerity by making poor people take the fall for the financial crash. It's a choice. It's not that refugees are flooding our country and we can't afford them, and homeless people. We can afford both. The problem is the government don't believe that we should help either. That's the issue. So stop blaming asylum seekers and realise that asylum seekers are in the same boat as poor people in this country. Well, not the same boat, but I think you know what I mean.